Hello and welcome everyone to another Sales Hacker webinar. Thank you so much for hanging out with us for the next hour or so. I'm going to let everyone kind of trickle in here. We had a ton of people register for this one, close to 1,000 folks. So it's going to be cool. It's going to be busy. Lots of questions, lots of interest in this topic. And what we're going to be talking about is how to deliver insanely impactful disco and demo calls. And we have two of arguably the best people in the world to talk to about this. Reason being, these two have really gone through hours and hours and hours of actual real live recorded demos. So they have seen it all and coached on it all. So very excited. What we're going to, and before I introduce both of them, what we're hoping that you walk away from with this kind of webinar is how to build rapport, position yourself as an expert, tactics. So we're going to get hyper tactical. Keep us honest. If you feel like we're too fluffy, let us know in the chat. We're going to get hyper tactical to root your demo in discovery and talk through a customer lens, and then how to weave customer stories into a compelling narrative. But I want to introduce my two guests. I am joined by Asia Gladden. Asia, welcome to the Sales Hacker community.
Thanks so much.
Excited to have you. And so Asia is the Director of Sales at Oxblue Corp, and she's also a replays coach. And speaking of replays, I'm also joined by Dave Kennett, who is the CEO and founder of Replays, and also a dear friend of mine. Dave, how you doing, man? Welcome back.
Thank you, Scott. Great to be here.
Excited to have you. And Dave and I have known each other for a long time. Dave was actually my first VP of sales in the tech industry way back in the day. So that's how we know each other. Stayed close ever since. And we now actually do a Sales Hacker video series together called Demolitions, where we break down live demos. So if you haven't checked it out, please do. Super quick housekeeping before we dive into it. So number one, these are always recorded. So I know the vast majority of us are working from home, which poses all sorts of unique challenges like screaming children and letting out dogs and all sorts of things. So if you have to go attend to anything, that's totally okay. We'll send this to you in about 24 hours time. So this is recorded. And then secondly, we love these when they are engaging, right? Like it's so much more fun for Asia, Dave, and myself when we know who we're chatting with. So if you can go introduce yourself, there is a chat function, name, company, title, say what's up. It's always a lot more fun. And then if you have questions, because this will be a roundtable discussion, if you have questions, please use the Q&A function. So different than the chat, to ask those questions. I'll be manning that and kind of being the voice of the community. And you can put these two through the ringer because they've seen it all when it comes to demos. And we're going to get hyper tactical. So ask your questions, get as specific as you want, and we will do our very best to answer them. But let's dive in. So where to start with this topic? There's a lot of places we can go, but let's talk about the beginning. Okay, so Dave, let's say an SDR or I have booked an A-list prospect. I'm like, I've been trying to get this account on the line for weeks, months, years, and I finally got them. How should I kick off the call? Where do we start?
All right. Well, first of all, it's contextual to whether they're an SDR or AE. Let's start with AE. So if you're an account executive and you're jumping on your call, first of all, have your video on, right? So if you've got, and that's why I say it's contextual. If you're an SDR, we know likely you haven't had an opportunity to get the video going. I mean, potentially you have. It depends on your sales motion. But with an account executive, have your video on, good lighting, good background, and close to the camera. We coach some of the best sellers in some of the top tech companies in the world, and they're awesome sellers, but you'd be surprised at some of the housekeeping things that get missed, like literally being like 10 feet away from the camera, or like looking down on the prospect and the prospect's looking up at their nostrils, or like really dark, or like, have a look at this. Like, you're hearing me talk right now. How much more engaging is it when I've got my camera actually on? So that's number one. Number two, we've got our 100 best practices at Replays from watching literally hundreds of demos and discovery calls on what the best reps consistently do, because we see what their actual sales results are. So we tie those together and correlate them. And the beginning of the call would have building rapport, or the chit chat part. It would have the agenda, and then three steps to the agenda that we recommend, proposing an agenda, and then diving into it. And so on the building rapport part, it's interesting. We get sales reps that say, well, Dave, you don't understand. I'm a challenger seller. I'm not a relational seller. So I don't need to build rapport. And it just, it's not something that's part of my sort of sales game. And unfortunately, we believe that's flawed thinking. On the flip side, I'll tell you why in a second. On the flip side, we have relational sellers that they rely on being an interpersonal, great sort of gift of the gab person, and they just rely on that as opposed to process, and that's flawed as well, right? What we all know, and what the best sellers know, is it's about very, very quickly picking up on the actual natural tendency and profile of your prospect, right? So for anyone that's done, for example, disc profiling or whatever, you know that if you've got a D in the disc profile category, they just want facts. They want to be quick. They don't want to talk about their weekend. They don't want to talk about their kids. They don't want you asking about their kids and family. And with them, you just want to simply be right, be quick, and get out. That's how they're going to lean in the most. Right. So if you're that relational seller and you're relying on, I got the gift of the gab, you're going to piss that person off. Right. And then conversely, if you're a challenger seller and you've got someone whose natural tendency is they want to be, engage with you a little bit before they dive in, as sales professionals, we need to pick that up super, super quickly. So that's how I would contextualize that answer is A, read the quote unquote room or the folks on the call very, very quickly. And B, make sure you've got some really interesting things to talk about right off the bat, that isn't just the weather, right? And so, and God forbid, don't talk about politics. We've seen people do that recently, and let's stay away from that. Obviously, you would think we would all know that, but we'll see sales reps, and I know I'm going off here, Scott, but just give me 30 more seconds, then I'll pass it back over. But I'm passionate about this topic, as you can see. Where we see sales reps fall down is they won't do any pre-call planning, and they'll be like, hey, Scott, whereabouts are you based? It's like, are you kidding me? You are now demonstrating to your prospect that you don't care enough to take a few minutes in your pre-call planning to look at their LinkedIn and understand where they're based. So have a look at their LinkedIn, look up the company on Google Alerts and Google News, and look at their website and find some interesting business type things to potentially relate to. So there's my answer on the AE side anyway.
I love it. And you'll see a lot of that passion shine through all through the webinar with Dave. Very passionate about this topic, and I'm excited to keep it going. Something you said there I want to touch on. So basics, so unbelievably important. And this idea of never ask a question that you can Google, right? That should be not just in sales, but in life. If you're going to your director, your manager, and you haven't quickly just done a Google search, come on, you're basically just passing the buck to someone else. Same goes with your prospect. I think that's huge. Asia, anything to add on top of that as it pertains to just kicking a call off at the very beginning?
My goodness, they took all the good best practices. All right. So I think huge takeaways from that, though, are the most important part of starting a call happens in the prep before the call even starts. That you have those things, that you're able to build rapport about something other than the weather. I think people that find it challenging to build rapport, that's a tip for them. It's not just fluffy. Your mind thinks you're wasting time with it. It's not just fluffy. It's helping you build credibility and connect with the prospect. That's a huge thing. Um, as far as opening the call, I agree. Have an agenda. You work with that agenda the entire time. And then opening the call is important because it's basically giving your prospect an idea of what they can expect from a call. So just like you pick up a book and it has a table of contents, your agenda is telling this person that's on the call with you what's going to happen next, proposing their agenda. And then for an opener, I usually like to ask what they want to achieve in the call. That's going to give you a lot of information to build your discovery around. Those are my hot tips.
I like it. I like it a lot. I think that's a fantastic question right off the bat. Is what are you hoping to achieve from this call? It rips away some of the assumptions that we all have as sellers. They might be hoping for something completely different than you think. So I like that one, and I also like this idea of it doesn't start when the demo starts. It all starts before in the pre-planning. Do you ever see, Asia, that would you recommend people that, let's say, have a gong or a chorus or a conversational intelligence to quickly go back and maybe listen to the call that maybe they had the SDR had with them or a previous meeting? Do you see that with any of the clients you work with at Replays?
So much. The way that we do it actually is we'll take a recording of the call submitted to us by the rep, and we'll actually record our coaching along with it.
Nice.
When I send it over, one of the things that I ask at the end of my recordings is or at the beginning of the recording is to watch it all the way through. Don't just jump ahead to the coaching bits, because you're going to capture things, you're going to realize things in your voice, your tone, things that you said that are going to have a lot more impact for you on that second look. I've had guys pick up things that I didn't make comments on. So that I would definitely recommend that. And even during call coaching, I recommend that you listen to the call together, the whole call. It's painful sometimes. We don't like to hear ourselves recorded or hear our recorded voices, but it really is the best teacher. That moment when you're sitting with your coach and you're asking that run-on question or that series of close-ended questions, it hits you right here and you don't want to do it again.
Totally. I totally agree. And you can even take that line of thinking, like, even if you don't have your calls are recorded or you've never had an engagement with someone, we live in such an incredibly connected world now where a lot of people have been on webinars or podcasts, particularly if you're selling into the C-suite, a VP of sales or a CRO or a VP of marketing. They might have created some content. So even going and trying to find that stuff and listening to it before your call can be helpful. Just understand kind of their presence and what going back to Dave, your point, what disc profile you think they might be has actually helped me quite a bit in the past. So quickly, and thank you everyone. Look, we've got so many people. We got Max, what's up, man? Camparetto from Salesforce, always got some good questions. Andrew, shout out Keith, Kimberly, Amy, Jonathan, Patrick, Tyler, Rich, James, Nick, Alicia, Kennedy. Tons of great people joining us. Thank you. Make sure you're asking your questions throughout. I want to quickly do 2 polls before we go any further. Partly out of curiosity and partly because it's going to help us kind of frame up the rest of this conversation. One, I want to know how many demos everyone is doing per month. I know it's such a wide range. Sure, COVID has impacted this. And then I want to know how many of those demos are actually getting reviewed per month. And Dave, without looking at the answers, I'm not sure if you can see them yet. Where do you think we're going to lie? How many demos do you think are getting reviewed per month? I know you work with a ton of big tech companies that you help them with some of their call reviews. What do you see in the market?
My guess is going to be that 30 to 40, 50% are going to say none, and that 20 to 30% are going to say 1 to 2, and the minority are going to say 3 to 4, and almost zero will say 5 plus. And so, unfortunately, best practice is getting a call review once a week, right? Like if we want to be true professionals of what we do, it's incumbent upon our sales leaders to help us with that. And trust me, Scott, I never got an A plus on that as I was building sales cultures. And that's why I started Replace, right? To help, sales reps send us their calls and we review them. And, but what we're hearing out there, the average in some of the leading tech companies in the world is one call review every 6 to 8 weeks. And it's because people either A, don't have time, or there's a lot of first-time sales leaders who don't necessarily have a framework to coach to. And I know I felt that way when I was a first-time sales leader. So anyway, those are my 2 guesses. We'll see how they transpire here.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And quickly, I just want to answer this question, or Dave, I'll get you to answer it. How are we defining a demo? As an AE, I wouldn't say I do any demos. So in this case, demo is also a disco call. You might not sell something that you show the customer. What do you define? Is it just a first call with a prospect, Dave?
Well, I would still differentiate discovery call versus other. So discovery to me is when you are really trying to understand if there's the right fit based on a number of vectors that you've set out, either using something like MedPick or Bant or what have you. There's a lot of tech companies out there who have great demoable products. There's a lot of organizations that don't demo, right? They use PowerPoint to explain what they do, or they don't. They just get on a call and they kind of walk people through it. And that's okay. So certainly our tips are, a lot of them are going to be super relevant regardless of whether you actually have a nice quote unquote demoable product, because either way, once you've done the discovery to understand, is there a basis and a good fit to actually have a further discussion on this, then let's say you don't have a good demoable product, you still have to convey the value. So a lot of what we're going to talk about today, demo or no demo, is how you actually effectively do that.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and end this poll. All right, so we can all see the results. So vast majority are doing or between 0 to 10. So that's about 71% are doing between 0 to 10 demos a month. And this is wild to me. So 49% of people on this call are getting 0 demos reviewed every month, which is, it's actually mind blowing. And we always look for issues of why, salespeople aren't hitting results. And I think you just pointed that, and 50% aren't getting any help. So that's wild. And then another 33% are only getting 1 to 2%. So that is, what is that? 82%
Yeah.
are getting between 0 to 2 reviewed each and every month. That's wild. So let's try and help with that. Let's give, you guys have done so much of this. Let's try and give them all the tips that we know.
Scott, let me just throw a quick comment in there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, those stats aren't surprising, right? It seems like my prediction, unfortunately, was pretty close to the truth, and it's something I wish I wasn't right on. But you look at any professional, and they practice a lot of the times more than they play. We don't have that luxury as sales professionals. We've got a tough job, and so to have someone give us feedback is super impactful, which is, I certainly don't want to do a huge plug for Replace. What I do want to do is help the folks on the call, with Asia and I'll help them with actionable insight today on what our coaching team usually advises on. But I'm just going to throw my LinkedIn here in the chat. And if you're a sales leader and you're saying, you know what, I need to do a better job of sales reviews, don't be hard on yourself. We all struggle with that. Hit me up on LinkedIn, like DM me, and we'll give you some tips and tricks. And same with sales reps. If you're not getting a level of reviews, hit me up and we'll try and help you.
Love it. And Dave is a legend in this regard. Like I said, he was my first VP of sales ever. So he taught me how to sell. And so definitely take them up on that. I know you guys are doing a masterclass as well, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Highly recommend it. But okay, we've got some great questions coming in. I want to first start with kind of presenting some of the common disco demo mistakes. Sometimes it's the easiest to have a checklist of things not to do rather than a checklist of all the things to do. And again, you both reviewed a lot of demos. If you could wave a magic wand, and Asia, I'm going to start with you, and rid the sales world of 2 to 3 common disco demo mistakes that you see kind of over and over again, what would those be?
I have a magic wand. I have a superpower. Okay. For me, a huge mistake is making the discovery portion of the demo all about qualifying.
Mm.
That really just like off the top, I lose my good, bad, good technique and go straight into like, please don't do that ever again. Like, it is really, really critical that when you're doing a discovery, the customer feels like there's a benefit in it, a value in it for them. So you're asking questions, you're starting with, what do you hope to get out of the call? You're asking questions with what they're hoping to resolve with your solution. You're asking questions about what that looks like for them today. Qualifying has a purpose, it has a point, but it should not be the bulk of your demo. Common mistakes, kind of one of the things, the housekeeping things that Dave mentioned. You have a demo, your lighting's bad, your camera's not on, you're looking kind of all over creation. We usually coach, as a replace best practice actually, to coach people that to talk to the person that they're on the call with like they're in the room. So you're looking at your camera, you're engaging with them. And then for me, if we jump to the end, not getting a firm next step. That's a huge one, and not asking for the business. So you do this great discovery, you do this fantastic demo where you show how your solution resolves their discovery, and you either let the call die or you go straight into talking about price without verifying that you actually solved their issue.
Mm-hmm.
Does this solve this for you? Does this look like a good fit? Okay, great. Let's talk about pricing and next steps.
I like it. Some great tips there. No one wants to feel that they're being banted or med picked or whatever it is.
Exactly.
If you're a savvy buyer, you can smell it and feel it a million miles away. I really like that one. Getting the next step, so huge. And then again, the basics are so funny that they're missed. I think it was Dave that pointed out to me. I didn't actually know this until like a month ago. I always, when I'm on Zoom calls, I look at the other person, but apparently it's actually more natural to be glancing at the other person, but then at your camera.
Yep.
I actually had no idea this was a thing. And now I can notice it when people are doing that and not. It's kind of like making eye contact and not making eye contact.
I actually coach my reps to take the small image of the person and pull it up near the camera. So they're doing both. You're still looking at that person, but you're looking at the camera. And yeah, as far as, actually asking questions that engage the customer versus ban or med pick or whatever, one of the other things that I always found when I was in sales is you can get away with almost anything in a call as long as you frame it in being about your customer. If you can figure out a way to ask that question so it sounds like there's a benefit in it for them, you'll probably get that question out. If you can't figure out how to frame it so that it's about them, probably something that you don't need to be asking or saying anyway, to be honest.
Yeah, I like that. Dave, I'm going to go to you with the same question, but before, I want to go to the community because we're getting a ton of really great questions. We have one from Max that kind of builds off what Asia just said. And it is, how do you balance the need to do discovery for the purpose of creating an ROI/business case with the desire of the customer to see a demo / get their eyes on the product and solution? Because you have all of these things that you need to extract, right, to make that healthy business case. But a lot of times it's like, hey, let's get down to brass tacks. I want to see this thing. I want to, give me the rundown. Give me the quick 15-minute rundown. How do you balance that, Dave?
It is a balancing act for sure. And this is why sales ain't easy, right? Sales professionals, the reason you're making what you're making, which is hopefully a lot, is because, not anyone can do this job. And we see folks challenged with this a lot. And the answer is, in our opinion, is to make sure there's a give and take throughout discovery. So to Asia's point earlier of not making them feel like they're on the Inquisition stand, right? And that you're playing 20 questions with them, make it conversational, make it authentic, make it a give and take. And by that, I mean, do some quote unquote deposits, right? Which is, when you've asked a few questions and you can tell they might be getting question fatigue, there's two things you can do. A, you can remind them the value of why you're doing it. It goes something like this. I apologize for all these questions I'm asking. I just ask, can you bear with me for just another few minutes? Because I promise you, I do not want to give you the standard templated demo. Like, I just don't want to I want to customize it to exactly what you want. And if you just bear with me for a few more questions, I'll be able to do that. I just want to make the most of your time. I mean, who's going to say no to that, right? Some people will, right? And let's face it, maybe 1 out of 10 will. And then you just you try one more time, and then B, you say, okay, cool, let's go to the demo, right? But for the other 9 out of 10, that will work. The other thing is to make it more conversational. We've in what we call a customer story soundbite. So Scott, one of the things, like as you know, in our masterclass series, there's 100 video. There's best practices in sort of 2 to 5 minute videos that we do, and we're going to share a few of them today. And one of them is to make sure you weave in enough customer stories. And honestly, in most of the reviews we do at Replays, we find 0 customer stories when we first start working with our customers. And in a handful of weeks, we have them doing on average 2 to 3 customer stories in a 45-minute sales discussion. And what that does is have massive impact for all the reasons we all know, right? Where human beings relate to things emotionally through stories, not just facts. And so it's okay to actually do 1 or 2 customer stories in a discovery. However, there's a couple footnotes. One is don't make it too long, right? Don't spend 5 minutes on that. That's just going to take you right off track. The other is don't be like, oh yeah, we have a good case study for that, I'll send it to you. It's like, hey, you're getting paid because you're a great communicator. Communicate the damn story. Don't just send them a white paper later. Are they going to open it? I wouldn't, right? And so the next thing is, what's our customer story soundbite process? Hit me up on LinkedIn later. For those of you that want it, I'll actually give you our spreadsheet that we use for it. The high level is in 1 minute, less than a minute, you tell them the what, the so what, and the customer story. So you unearth a pain, right? So with Replays, the pain might be, oh, we don't get any call coaching. You're one of the 80% of people that get call coached once every 6 weeks. And let's say we're talking to a sales leader. Well, that's the pain. So what's the what, so what, and customer story? For me, if I was on a sales call to a sales leader, I would hear that pain and I'd say, oh, we do on-demand sales call coaching. Okay, well, that's the what. That just took me 5 seconds, but who knows what that means, right? It's kind of newer in this space. So then I do the so what, which is, why should you care that we do on-demand sales call coaching? And it's like, on average, our reps that go through our on-demand process within a few months are actually improving their win rate by over 10%, shortening the sales cycle and increasing average order size. Okay, now you've got their attention and we're 20 seconds in. So now we've done the what, the so what, and the customer story. Again, the what is the feature. The so what is almost like the benefit. Like, why should you care? Why should you listen? And the customer story is, that reminds me of the sales leader that contacted us just a few months ago in a very similar situation as you are. And they deployed our Replays best practices and masterclass and coaching reviews for the reps every 2 weeks. And fast forward to today, and their team on average has improved their win rate by 10%. And that's the customer story. That whole thing took me less than 45 seconds. And it's a deposit. It made it more conversational. It made it more engaging. And it's still in the discovery. So that's my quick answer to that.
I love it. I love it. It sounds like you've done this before a few times, Dave. Just a couple of those sound bites. I love it, man. Okay, so I had a whole plan for this webinar, and it was going to flow very, very nicely. But I'm going to throw that plan away because we have really, really great questions coming through. They're really thoughtful. Thank you, everyone. So I'm just going to let the community drive this thing. I hope you'll bear with us, Asia and Dave. Let's just tackle some of these questions and we'll wrestle with them. Asia, this one will be from you. It's coming from Joe. Joe, I thought this is a great question. Regaining control of a demo. So this is huge. He says, had a recent demo. One of the customer contacts was a bit of a know-it-all, started interrupting with random product questions, pulling us off track and burning precious time. We were not able to hit all the 5 key points for the customer. Any suggestions on how to handle this going forward? Super common thing that happens in demos.
Yeah, there's a couple of ways to handle that person. So one is you want to acknowledge everyone that's in the room. You want to acknowledge everyone on the call. Absolutely. But you don't want to let that person dominate the call. So you can easily, if it's a quick thing, you can give them an answer, but say that you actually get to that at a later point during the course of the demo. Hey, that's a great question. Yes, we do that. And I'll be showing you that before we're all through. A couple of that, and usually that person kind of quiets down a little bit because they realize that they're not going to be taking full control of the conversation. If it really is that person is a decision maker, then it might be a good idea to offer them a demo off the side. Do you know what I mean? Just to offer them a demo of their own. Hey, that's great, but I've got, a lot of people in the group. I want to make sure everyone is served. Can I answer some of those questions for you offline?
I like it. I love that. And I feel like, so you said a few things there, like the acknowledgement is huge. Typically, I found when people are being that sort of know-it-all, right? They're trying to show the group or show you that they're informed, that they know what they're talking about, right?
Yep.
And they really want that. So acknowledging that is a really great way to diffuse it. It's saying, hey, it sounds like you're really informed on this topic. That's perfect. That's going to help this, whole thing go a lot smoother. I just want to make sure that we do cover the key points because I know it's going to help us down the road and help everyone on the call. So sometimes just acknowledging it can be the best way. I like it. Dave, anything to add on top of that when you're feeling like, I think I'm getting my demo hijacked a little bit?
Yeah, a couple things to build on Asia's points, which are awesome. I think number one, a lot of this happens in the pre-call planning. So if we were to separate the prospects into 2 different buckets based on role, one would be economic buyer, decision maker, the person with the budget. The other would be, we call them power users, right? We often see power users just run with a call and take it off track saying, hey, show me that drop down there again. And the economic decision maker is just twiddling their thumbs, getting bored, rolling their eyes, going, why am I here? Right? They want to hear about value. And so it's tough to be diplomatic in that scenario and sort of say to the power user, but you should, is, these are great questions. I recommend that we have a separate full-on demo for you to go through the functionality. And then bring it back to the economic decision maker and be like, what we want to talk about is overall value points on how we're going to really address those pains you talked about earlier. So, and so the 2 other things you can do, one, make sure that the agenda is super clear so that you've got that as a crutch. You can refer back to the agenda. So in that scenario where the power user runs with it, you can say, man, we've only got 20 minutes left. Really want to keep us on track to the agenda. Can we have a separate call for this demo? The other way is when you've got a champion that you're working with, really strategizing with them on, should you have a separate call for the power users where it's a full-on demo as opposed to a call with the decision makers. And maybe you have both on the same call, but you've already strategically and collaboratively with your champion decided, okay, yeah, we're gonna have this deep dive with maybe it's the sales reps, for example, if you're selling a tech stack thing for sales, so that there's a less chance that you're going to actually get hijacked by one of those guys.
I like it. All right, let's keep it rolling straight from the community. So this is a very kind of a niche question, but I like it, Jason. If you're selling a free service, so it's a freemium model. I'm not sure if Replays works with anyone doing a freemium model. but he says, if you are selling a free service and there's nothing to sign, what is a good closing ask or technique to get them to commit and make sure they will actually use the service? Any thoughts there? And Dave, I'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, we have a ton of our customers have freemium versions, and there needs to be a call to action, right? There needs to be mutually agreed upon next steps where there is a quote unquote buying action. In this case, the buying action is simply them registering, right? So I think you want to make sure you've understood their pain points. B, you want to make sure that you've tied your value to their pain points. And unfortunately, that's where a lot of reps leave it. They don't go that next step, which is actually asking for the quote unquote business. In this case, it's the free business if you're just trying to ramp up users. So I think you need a tangible call to action, which is, here's our registration link. It'll just take you 30 seconds. We can do it together now on the call, or certainly can do it in the next few days. But, we talk a lot in sales about a compelling event, right? It would be nice to have a compelling event in terms of, creating a reason why they need to sign up in a certain period of time, whether it's that if they do opt to go for the paid model, they're going to get a discount if they sign up on freemium for a certain period of time, or if we want to take it right away from, discounts, just simply demonstrating the value to them on why, if you've done a really, really good job in understanding their pain, then you should be able to articulate quite clearly at the end of the call as to why them staying with status quo and not signing up for your freemium model is actually going to cause more of a headache, more of a negative impact to their business, and being able to actually quantify the impact of it then moving forward. So I think that's the other key area.
Yeah. My 2 cents on that one, I think that could be solved with just an upfront contract, right? The barrier to entry is so low that you could say at the beginning of your call, hey, typically how these calls go is I'll run you through our product or solution. And if it all looks good, we spend the last 5 minutes, setting up your account. And you are actually setting up their account on the call. Like, there's no money changing hands. They shouldn't object to that. And if they do, well, they might not be the right fit. Asia, anything to add there in terms of freemium?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the idea of getting them set up while you're on the call is huge. If the concern is actually getting them to use the service, when we sold, we had a freemium model at Sage for one of our solutions. When we sold that, it was usually, there was a part of the software that was, if they start doing this, and your software, right? If they start doing this, they're probably going to use it. So for us, it was linking the bank account. So a lot of our value statements were around linking the bank account. And then we would have maybe our next action, our next step was, hey, look, I'm going to touch base with you on this date. If you haven't had any problems linking your bank account, great. If you have some problems with it, I can walk you through it.
Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. Kind of finding out what those look at your data, find those impactful moments, and then make sure you're constantly going back to those impactful
and you're
moments.
emphasizing those on the call, because that if your prospect starts using this, they're more likely to actually use the solution and become a paying customer.
Gold. I love it. All right, next one. We have Jason. Jason, good question, man. All right. Asia, I'm going to start with you on this one. Let's say you typically have a pitch deck, right? You typically have we all have PowerPoints. I hope they die at some point, but we typically all have PowerPoints right now, and we're running through them. But your client says, hey, I can't get in front of a computer, but you have me now. Let's just go over it. Should you still pitch that in that scenario? Do you say, hold on, let's wait for another time? It's kind of that classic, give me your best 5-minute spiel. Do you do it?
My personal feeling is a customer on the phone is worth like 10 customers that you're going to schedule a call with later. I mean, you've got them on the phone. So your deck. The point of your deck, more likely than not, is to educate your customer on what you do. Those points. Have the conversation. If you absolutely have to get them into a demo, but you have that, have that conversation to pique their interest so that you can get that demo scheduled. But I don't think that you have to be married to a deck. There's probably some sales leaders on the call right now ready to shoot me, but that's how I feel. If you have somebody on the phone, talk to them.
I'm in your camp. Dave, what do you think?
I'm in that camp 100%. If you understand my pain points and I'm the prospect that wants to just, understand now over the phone what's going on, that's number one. Make sure you understand my pain points. So don't throw out the discovery, still do the discovery, but then tie it to your solution. And, two thoughts on that. Number one, before the last handful of years, we sold over the phone for decades and it worked. The second is, certainly if you've got something that from a show and tell perspective is going to knock their socks off, if you've done a really good job, if you've said yes to them and said, yep, absolutely. Let me just ask you a few questions first, and then you go over it over the phone. If you've done a good job on that, you'll probably get buy-in for a second discussion to actually go through the show and tell aspect.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. All right. This might be the most questions we've had, at least in the last couple of months. So great questions, everyone. And they're great questions. So here's another good one. All right, Dave, I'm going to go to you on this one first. If your solution, this is kind of around pricing. If your solution is more expensive than the typical market rate due to the greater value it brings, so you're maybe the category leader, but you're more expensive, what are your thoughts on mentioning this to the client before sharing pricing at the end of the demo? Should you get ahead of this? How do you deal with this? It's a great question.
Yeah, I just love this question. We see this being handled so poorly, unfortunately. And number one, the meta point here that we recommend at Replays is hold your head high and be proud of the fact that you've got a premium service and call it out, right? So number one, what does that do? It qualifies out the people that aren't willing to pay for the premium. Number two, people want to be part of something premium, right? And so, but number three, it's important to communicate why, right? So when you're getting to that pricing chat, I'm not sure I would get in front of it necessarily. I would wait for the objection. If they say, wow, how is this price relative to the market? Oh man, that seems high. Then you own it. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, we're a premium service. The reasons that our customers pay it and have zero issue paying it is because of the ROI. People will pay in proportion to the problems we solve. And we solve problems better than our competitors. So I promise you there's an ROI in it for you. You just have to hear from our customers. In fact, let me tell you a couple stories. And if you are proud and you back it up with confidence, it goes so much better than what we typically hear. And often we'll hear, yeah, I mean, sometimes, yeah, we're kind of more expensive. And they leave it at that. It's like, if I'm the buyer, I'm out of there. Like, own it and explain why customers that are with you are willing to pay that. Because then they get FOMO. Like, okay, well, if they're willing to pay it, then maybe I am. And if they're not, great, you've qualified them out. You've saved time on spinning cycles on someone in your pipeline that you shouldn't have spent time with anyway.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Dave out here casually dropping Elon Musk quotes in his answers. Yeah. I think that was one. You get paid in proportion to the problems that you solve. One of my favorite quotes. So good. Yeah. Asia, I'm going to hit you with a different question.
Oh,
if you have some.
That one.
Okay. Let's hear it.
I love that one.
Okay, jump in.
What I hear, one, educate yourself. If your price is higher, find out why. Is it because of the things that you use in creating the project, the prospect? Is it because of the service you provide? And own your price. What I hear so many reps do, and this is my hot button, don't spend your customers' money. Don't assume that just because your price is high, that your customer is not going to want to pay it. And don't apologize for your price. Just like Dave said, you own it. So the price is the price. This is why. Be comfortable with it. That comfort, actually, the customer's comfort starts with your comfort and the things you may not even realize you're communicating in your tone and the way you act when the subject of price comes up. Okay, I'm done. Go to the next.
I like it. That was a solid quote. Well, that was don't spend your customers' money.
Don't spend your customers' money. Don't give them multiple quotes. Don't do any of that stuff. The price.
I
Don't
love that.
negotiate with yourself. That is a replays best practice. Your price is your price.
Love it. I love it. That was awesome. Okay, this is a great one, and one I see very often with kind of the modern AE that typically will have, let's say, 100 target accounts. This question is from Kevin. How long after an opportunity gets shut down do you attempt to reintroduce the project? As an AE, I'm finding that my client will sometimes turn down the offer for whatever reason. These things happen, timing's off, and then I have trouble pressing the issue afterwards. Re-engaging them. Maybe they pushed you off. Hey, 9 months, we'll talk again. How do we get ahead of that? How do we deal with that? Asia, I'll start with you this time.
So I love your outreach T-shirt. Before I was with Ox Blue, I came from Sales Loft. So I'm going to
mutual respect across the board.
All love. It's all love.
Love.
No, to me, this kind of taps into my sales engagement piece.
Yeah.
I think a good AE it is very difficult to come in 3 months later and pick up with a prospect or pick up a project when you haven't spoken to that prospect for 4 months. So in your toolbox, you should have kind of an always be touching, always be engaging type of a cadence or a sequence, or however you want to call it, whatever your nomenclature is. So what that looks like is regular check-ins. And by regular check-ins, I don't mean, hey, how are you doing? I hope that you're still working on such and such a project, something that's actually meaningful. So every couple weeks or so, you send them an email about something in the industry or something that's going to relate to them. And you continue to do that all the way through until it's time to contact them again. Otherwise, you kind of find yourself like Sisyphus. If you know your mythology, he had a big stone, he had to roll it up the hill, it got to the top of the hill, and it would always roll back down and he'd have to start all over again. So when you get to the prospect, that's what's happening. You're having to start all over again and rebuild the project again. If you stay in touch with them all the way through, and it's a light lift, it's not going to take a lot of your time out of your day, but if you stay in touch with them all the way through, you'll find it's a lot easier when you come to pick that back up, to pick up at least closer to where you left off than if you're starting from the very beginning.
Yeah, that's huge. What I'm hearing there is, irregardless of kind of the outcome that you have to find ways to keep that momentum going so that you're not going back to step one, bottom of the hill again.
Yeah. Through the blank space, send them relevant content, excuse me. One, it's going to make you a person to them. Two, they're going to see that you really have their interest at heart. Sisyphus, the god of salespeople. I'm sorry, I'm reading the chats as we're sitting here talking. Hilarious. But yeah, it's gonna keep you top of mind for them, so that you're not like starting completely over when you go to start over.
Yeah, I love it. And again, great commentary through this whole webinar. Appreciate you, the community here always. All right, Dave, anything to add there? I think we covered that one pretty well.
Yeah, those were great points. I think just number one, ask for the timeline and when you can follow up again. B, if possible, actually ask for a calendar meeting in the books, even if it is 2 months out. Often they'll agree to that. And then two, gain agreement to do those check-ins that Asia was talking about. Hey, we've got relevant content all the time to your specific pain points. Is it okay if from time to time we send some valuable info your way that I think will help? And then you can either do that in a forced motion or put them into a drip cadence.
Yeah, I like it. Here's one of my favorite questions that we've got so far. This is from Max. Again, Max with some great questions. This was, as a seller, when I put my sales hat on, this is my least favorite thing of all time, dealing with this. So I want to hear both of your answers on this. Anyone have any good tips or tricks for getting folks engaged during a demo? We've all been on calls when they're not engaged, and it's an absolute nightmare. You feel like you're just pulling strings to build rapport. You're trying to ask insightful questions. You've done all your homework, but there seems to be just like nobody home on the other end. Dave, how do you get around this? How do you get people more engaged? Is there any silver bullet here?
There actually is. There's three things. Number one, video on. I know I mentioned it before, but I can't tell you how impactful it is. It's funny. We hear, customers saying all the time, their sales reps saying, yeah, but my prospect doesn't feel comfortable having their video on. That's okay. You know why? There's this weird thing that happens that when your video's on, and even if theirs isn't, they feel like you're watching them. And you can't see them, but they see you. And for whatever reason, they're less likely to sit there and text and Slack and talk to their buddy, even though you can't see them. So it's this weird subliminal thing. Trust me, it happens. I'll practice saying subliminal quickly a few times, and then I can. And then the second is, and this is huge, is we see reps often talk for 5-6 minutes before coming up for a breath. One of our replays best practices is a meaningful check-in every 1.5 to 2 minutes, ideally 1.5 minutes. And what's a meaningful check-in? Well, and Scott, you've heard me say this before. I know you're a big believer in making sure we don't do this. And that is 9 times out of 10, we'll hear sales reps check in. And when they do, they say, any questions or make sense? And guess what the customer says? Nope, no questions. Yep, that makes sense. And what you want to do is get interesting, meaningful dialogue going on as you go through. You want it participative, just like we're trying to be participative in this session, and it keeps them on their toes, keeps them alert, and it gets them talking. So in a discovery call, we all know that talk time should be roughly 50-50. In a demo, it should be 50 to 70% of the time you talking, 30 to 50% of them talking. And how you do that is meaningful check-ins. And it goes something like this. Every 1.5 minutes after you show them, let's say, a feature, be like, I'd love to get your thoughts on how you would deploy this within your organization. Or, you told me you got a demo from our competitor earlier on today. How does this compare to that? Or you'd mentioned that your VP sales was really struggling with XYZ. Does that solve this for you? That's a closed-ended question. They go, yep. And then you say, great, how? And then that's the open-ended probe, right? That gets them discussing. And what you do is we think that at replays, everything should be as you go through, instead of waiting to the end and being like, so are you leaning in? And like you basically talk for 30 minutes throughout your demo. You should check in every 1.5 minutes with the meaningful check-ins we talked about. And everything you should be doing are mental notes on X's and check marks. Check marks are, wow, they really leaned in. And in fact, they started futurizing on what it would look like to deploy our products. You get them actually talking about what the world would look like if they deployed this. The X's are, they had an objection that maybe you couldn't actually overcome, or you did overcome it. And then at the end, as a sales professional, you should never, ever, with 10 minutes to go, not know exactly where they're leaning. You should, when you actually ask them, hey, where are you leaning? If you don't know the answer to that, you haven't done your demo well and you haven't done your check-ins well. Because if you do your check-ins well, you know it. And the fourth thing, I guess, is engage with each person on the call. We see reps so often either not getting out of the comfort zone and they just talk to their champion and not the SVP of marketing that was invited, or they do the trap, which is every LinkedIn post they've ever read says appeal to the economic decision maker, and they ignore the rest of the people on the call and they only talk to the most senior. So when you're doing your check-ins, be like, Asia, I'd love to get your thoughts on this specific feature. Scott, what are your thoughts on this? Engage the room just like you would if you were in person.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Lots of gold in there. Meaningful check-in, so unbelievably important. Not just we have to eradicate completely does that make sense? That's got to go from all sales vocabulary. Meaningful check-in's huge. I really like the nice reminder to make sure that you're checking in a unique manner to each persona that's on the call, because they all care about different things. So make it and frame it in a way that they care about. Asia, anything to add there? I thought that was a pretty good summary.
No, that's awesome. The only thing that I would add is I'm personally not a huge believer in a demo of all things. Yeah. So you want to ask yourself if your demo is relevant to your prospect. In your discovery, you ask them what brought them to the call, you find out what their goals are, and the things that you're putting the most emphasis on are the things that are going to solve those problems. I'm not going to be engaged in a half an hour long demo that shows me every single thing that a software can do. I don't care. I want to solve what I'm solving for. And that with the meaningful check-ins, which is Dave 100%, it is a big miss that a lot of reps do. They'll make a fantastic point and they don't stop and let it land, or they don't engage the customer and let them paint that picture in their head of how they're going to use it. Does it solve their problem? So that's twofold. You're getting your checks and your crosses to find out where you landed, but you're also letting them build a picture in their head of how they're going to use it. Those are my favorite. Can't use it on everyone. You can't every 2 minutes go, how do you see yourself using this for your team? But work those in there at some point, sometimes, and let them build that picture in their head of them actually using your solution.
Well, and I think the other piece there that builds on what you said, Asia, about not showing them all the things all the time, is once you've done a really good discovery, you're customizing your solution. And
yes.
the one question I want everyone on this call to ask themselves right now is, when you think about your last demo, and maybe go look at it after this call and answer the question, think, was I selling or was I training? I can't tell you how many call reviews we review where if we'd seen it for the first time and didn't know the context, we would have thought it was actually customer success agent onboarding the customer. They weren't selling value. They were simply being like, hey, this is how you use the system. Well, the prospect's there to learn about value, not how the drop down on the far right side looks.
Ooh, mic drop. Mic drop. I like it. I like it. All right. So we have 4 minutes left. I think this next question is a natural place to sort of wrap it up. And quickly, I know we didn't actually get even close to all the questions. So if you have more questions, please reach out to Dave Kennett, Asia Glad, and you can find them on LinkedIn. If your team is struggling getting any call coaching, replays can definitely help. But this question here is from Beth Samanuk. Beth, thanks for the great question. And it's about next steps. And here is, hopefully you haven't waited till the last 3 minutes on a call to get next steps. But here we are. And so the question is, where do you go when they won't commit to that next step? Clearly you didn't meet the need or solve the pain. Best place to go from here. Asia, I'll start with you.
Okay, I have a really big thing about getting some kind of a firm next step, I think, but I agree with you. Interestingly enough, what I hear a lot is that a lot of reps do go into trying to get the next step without making sure that they have that buy-in. So just like the point Dave made previously, before you make sure you ask the question, ask for the business. Even if you're not asking for the sale, you're still asking if they've heard enough to move them forward. If the answer is no, then you're probably not going to get next steps. So you want to find out why. So overcome objections. Well, where did I miss? What did I miss? You can own that. And then finally, if you can't get a firm next step, at least get like a backstop. Yeah, send me a quote and we'll take a look at it and we'll call you back. Hey, that's great. Utter failure, sad face. But I know that I know you got a lot of stuff on your plate. If I haven't heard from you by the end of the week, is it okay if I give you a call back on Wednesday? Mm-hmm. Put that on your calendar, reach out to them, and continue to try to keep the cycle moving. So if they absolutely won't give you a firm step, you probably missed something in the process. Ask them what you missed. And if you can't get a firm step, at least get a backstop.
I like it. Dave, anything to add on top of that?
I know we only have 1 minute left, so I'll just be very succinct. I think it's 100% about ensuring you have really uncovered the pain of status quo in your discovery. Because if so, at the end, if they're not moving forward, you'd be like, oh, hey, fair enough. I respect that, but there's dissonance for me here. You said you've got this, and this, the quantification of the pain. And if you just stay with that, what's your plan? Challenge them. Be the challenger at the end is my meta point.
I love it. Awesome. That's a great place to wrap up. And judging by the popularity and how many questions, I'm going to go ahead and say let's start a Sales Hacker channel thread. We'll get Dave or Asia to start it. And if you guys don't mind, sometime today answering some of these questions, that would be awesome. I'll get Alex, who helps us with logistics and growth, to set that up. So if you have any questions, if we didn't get to your question, go on Sales Hacker, where you'll find a channel. We'll make one now all around disco and discovery, so we can keep this conversation rolling. because it's been a lot of fun. Asia, Dave, thank you so much for all the insight. You're both an absolute wealth of knowledge, and we'll have to have you both back for sure. And for everyone who hung out with us, thank you so much. These are always the most fun when we have fantastic engagement like this, thoughtful questions throughout. You guys are such an incredible community. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, everyone. Thanks,